Each of us is unique and interesting in our own way. In our lives, we meet a wide variety of people every day. Most of the time, we forget their names and faces faster than we expect. Every once in a while, we meet a person who manages to catch our interest, and our interactions with them stay with us longer. Stay until the end because in the last part of the video, I will go into the most important facts. One important thing to understand is that there can always be people who find us boring or not to their liking. It depends mainly on who they are. We can't do anything about how they feel. So we have to accept that no matter how hard we try, not everyone will find us interesting, and that really shouldn't matter. To become an interesting person, we have to make sure that we leave an impression on others when we meet them. The first impression others have of us has a big impact on whether or not they see us as interesting. If someone has a boring impression of us at first, it will be very difficult to change that. Researchers have found that people interpret what they see in us later to be consistent with what they saw before after they have formed an initial impression of us. After people have paid attention to us and made their judgment, they stop paying attention to us. That is why later details are sometimes not noticed. Making a strong first impression and maintaining that impression is equally important if we want to become a more interesting person than we are now. If we want to become more interesting, we have to understand that it's about changing both our outer self and inner self. If we only try to portray an image by faking it, it won't work. What people notice about us is mainly our clothes. Therefore, we need to develop a dress sense that matches who we think we are. There are a few things to keep in mind. We don't have to wear expensive, trendy, or fashionable clothes to be interesting. Even if we do, thereby suppressing our true identity, it is not purposeful. If we always dress comfortably and relaxed, it will also not emphasize our true identity. We have to find a style of dress that emphasizes our personality and makes it stand out. A haircut that matches your face and highlights your features adds interest to you. Another important thing is to pay attention to your personal grooming routine. If you feel that you are neglecting it or that you are missing something there, you must take care of it immediately. If you want to attract the interest of others, you have to make sure that the image you give off to the outside world is one of self-confidence, calmness, and self-assurance. Knowing that your personal grooming is up to par will help you to get there. And don't forget, first impressions of us go a long way, and if we take care of our appearance, we will be perceived as interesting. The most important thing is that we don't have to be traditional, typical, or ordinary. We need to be who we think we are. The next aspect of a personality that needs to become interesting, I think, is our language. This is where it gets interesting. On the surface, we need to acquire a clear, thoughtful speech pattern and a rich vocabulary. But our language can destroy the interesting impression we initially created if we are not careful. Please remember that speech is mostly accompanied by nonverbal cues. Facial expressions, hand gestures, your posture, your eye movements, all of these must be consistent with your speech. The tone of your voice, the volume and pace of your speech can also contribute to your image. Therefore, we need to be attentive and know what we are saying, be present in here and now. It is very difficult to put a false act on these things. If we do, it looks fake instead of interesting. So become a self-respecting person who is able to behave politely. Feel comfortable when you are in the company. This is not arrogance or inflating your ego. Understand the difference and stay away from that. Even if you are nervous, don't feel confident or worry about whether you are measuring up. You need to tell yourself that you won't hide from social interactions that challenge you. Get a sense of calm and composure. This will help you understand that you are good the way you are and that people find you interesting. This belief itself will make you a more interesting person because it is self-actualized. It will be reflected in your face, speech, and body language. People who know they are good reflect that knowledge in their behavior. This makes you a very interesting person to be with. The most important thing to remember is that our communication skills are more important than speech if we want to become an interesting person. What matters to other people is the interest you show them. Start by learning to greet people warmly. Be genuinely happy when you meet people and let them feel it. If you can find something to give them a genuine compliment, do so. Make sure your compliment doesn't remind them of their inadequacy by saying something like, "You have lost a lot of weight." Anyone can do that. Instead, be a caring, empathetic person and say something like, "You look really good." Don't resort to flattery. Flattery hurts your dignity and hurts the image you have built. Let people know you care about them. Make them feel important. Pay attention to what they talk about and try to understand their interests. Encourage them to talk more about what interests them. Try to store some details in your memory so you can refer to them in a future meeting, or try to remember something from a past meeting. In this age of social media, people find it very interesting when they can get personal attention. When talking to someone, always try to think from the other person's perspective. This compassion and empathy in you will make you an interesting person to be with. Listen more than you talk about yourself. When you listen, do so actively and really be there for the other person. If you let your attention wander, so will your facial expression and eyes. It's better to end the conversation kindly and politely and move on than to be bored and pretend. If you do that, the other person knows it and will probably remember it. William James, an American psychologist, said that the deepest principle of human nature is the desire to be appreciated. So appreciate others, especially if they have done something for you, however small. Try to develop gratitude as part of your personality, and others will sense it in you. It will bring out the best in them and they will find it interesting. Remember that people are interested in what they want. If they think they will find something they want in you, they will find you interesting. In a group, that could be the attention you give them, the entertainment you provide, or whether you are a relaxing and helpful person to be with. In these circumstances, you have to be careful not to be used by others for their own interests. So we must be careful not to try to impress others even if we want to become a more interesting person than we are now. Be very tactful when you have to have a conversation that involves criticism or resentment of others. Establish your own principles to deal with these circumstances. I keep silent without contributing and apologize when politely possible. I don't want to be thought of as an interesting person in a negative, toxic way. I also think that what is directed at someone else today will be directed at me in the future. You can also present yourself as an interesting person by providing facts in a discussion. Think facts, not opinions. People form their own opinions and conclusions. If you help them do that by providing facts, especially if it is a sensitive or trending topic, you become an interesting person. So be a knowledgeable, informed, and thoughtful person when it comes to hot topics or social issues. What happens when we give a not so interesting first impression? Scientists have found that people tend to sometimes remember only the latest details about others and forget earlier information. So if you make yourself more interesting later, even if you did not make an ideal impression first, many people out there will appreciate it. Please subscribe to our channel. Share this video, like it and comment. This will help us to make more videos. Becoming an interesting person is not about trying to please others all the time. Instead, focus on developing a genuine interest in others, such as family, friends and colleagues, or even the people you encounter in your professional or social circles. At the same time, it's important to be clear about your needs, set boundaries, and identify your comfort zone. If we want to be more interesting than we are now, we all have to decide whether we are willing to step out of our comfort zone and to what extent. To become an interesting person, try to give what you want by showing genuine interest in others and giving them your attention. Thank you so much for watching.